Hi there. Welcome to Scantheus Simplified Scanning. Did you like what I did there? Alliteration. Scantheus Simplified Scanning or Basic Scanning for Scantheus. Scantheus is an application that runs a copybook OS book scanner, A1 or A2, manufactured by I2S. My name is Greg English. I'm the author of Scantheus, and I'm looking forward to taking you through the basics of scanning. We will not do a deep dive on a lot of the settings, calibration, and such. This just covers basic scanning. So we'll have some other videos that will go into more detail about how to customize, do calibration and settings, etc. So let me draw your attention talking about calibration and customization and stuff, these buttons along the right side here are called expanders. And when you open them up, they'll bring windows up that you can change items, customize stuff, or in the case of cameras, you can do calibration. So we will not go into that on this video. I just wanted to let you know in case you're wondering, like, what is that stuff along the right side there? What if I click it and start messing around with that? Well, for basic production scanning, you don't need to go in there. We're assuming right now with this video, everything's set up for you. You don't need to change anything because we want to focus on giving as much real estate so that you can do your job and get the best scans you could possibly do. So along the top here, this window here is for thumbnails of scanned images. And you'll see later on as we scan, we'll start populating this window. Along the left here is a control panel. That's what I call it. And that lets you control the book cradle from buttons. Of course, the book cradle itself has buttons on it, so it kind of duplicates that, whatever you're most comfortable with, and also gives you some capability of if you want to insert pages or replace some pages, and we'll go over that in a minute. This window in the middle with the image provides a dual purpose. One, it provides a live view of what's on the book cradle, so that you can see what you're scanning and what it's about to capture. But it also, if you go up here and you click on an image in the thumbnail, it will display the scanned image, and you can do some basic editing of it, cropping, deskew of a scanned image if you want to do that. So it toggles between one or the other depending on what you want to do. So let's go ahead and let's do a scan here. Now, I created a completely new configuration for our demonstration here. If you see this window come up, it means that the camera needs to be calibrated so that the colors are correct. Now, if you know how to do calibration, then go ahead and go into calibration and run it. If you need to get a supervisor that knows how to do it, do that. But don't continue on scanning. If you're starting a book and you see this warning, this nag window, you need to do calibration before you continue. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the nag window, something you should not do, right? Isn't that what I just said? So in this case, I'm going to turn this off so that I don't see it every time I do a scan. And we get a scan thrown up there. Now, this is I'm running in what's called a virtual camera mode. This isn't a real document on a book cradle, but for training purposes, this will work with us just fine. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Right now, I've set this up so that the capture area is the entire size of the sensor of the camera. So you can see the image popped up there. What I'm going to do here is switch to a fixed detect. So none means give me the entire area of the camera. No, fixed means I'm going to specify what areas I want. Now, because we're a book scanner, book scanning software, we're going to have a left and right page of a book. Now, of course, that's not always the case. What if you're scanning like photographs or something, or a single page? We have a single frame mode we can run into. So here we have left right page, which is the default. If I click this icon, I just want the left page. If I click that icon, it's the right page. There's a full frame. This is kind of a special mode. You can do a multi-frame detect. So we're going to go down here. I'm going to move this around a little bit, and then I'm going to draw some more boxes. Now, typically you can't do that in the left-right. It limits you to just a left-right page, but in this case, you can define as many frames as you want. But let's go back to the left-right page here. I'm going to do a scan of that. Like, oh, well, I'm getting a little bit too much area here. So what I can do is go down here to the live view, and I can adjust the size of the box. So let's adjust them down. Maybe I want a little bit of margin around there, a little padding. So let's do that. Of course, if you have a book, you might want to do get a little bit of the gutter of the book. So you got a teeny bit of overlap there. Now, scan can be done any one of multiple ways. I'm clicking the scan button here, but you can also just hit the space bar on your keyboard. The scanner itself has two big square scan buttons on it. You can punch those. If you're a fan of hotkeys, you can do Control S. Let's do that right here. It'll do a scan. So doing spacebar, scan. So it captures whatever you see on whatever you're set up here. Now, as I was telling you earlier, right now we're looking at a live view of it. If I click on one of these images, it'll toggle between showing the live view and showing the scanned image. Now, when I click on a image up here, this button toggles to, do you want to turn on live view or do you want to scan? So when I click live view, it turns into live view. Then I can do a scan. When I click on an image, I'm now looking at that particular image. So don't be confused when it toggles like that. It'll automatically switch to live view. That is, the button switches to live view. So the button is telling you what you want to do, not what it's currently doing, if that makes sense. So right now I'm looking at this image. I want it to toggle to live view. I want it to scan. And here it'll automatically switch to looking at a scanned image. And if I want to turn live view back on, I have to click live view. So let's jump down here to the book cradle controls. Now, these up and down, this is manipulating the physical book cradle, and up will push the document against the glass. And you really want to scan with the glass down and the book pressed up against the glass so you get the best focus quality. That's what these controls do. Now, the book cradle itself also has those controls, so you can do it either way. The lock locks the book cradle in its position. So if you have like a thick book and you need to kind of waggle the cradle so that one side's a little higher than the other, you can do that and then lock it in place if you need to. Otherwise, it'll kind of balance out itself. By default, when you scan, the A2 the magnets will release and the glass will come up. The A1 has a motorized glass which will move up. That's what this release after scan. If you're doing some kind of test scanning or something, you can turn that off if you don't want the glass to go up. This open and close will manually release the glass or close the glass. The close isn't applicable to the A2, only for the motorized glass on the A1. We also have an ability to scan on close. What that'll do is when you close the glass, it'll wait a certain interval and perform the scan. By default, that interval is a second, so you close the glass, it'll wait a second and capture the image. You need that little delay in there so the camera kind of settles down and can capture the area. don't recommend that option because you'll find once you get going that it's a lot faster for it just to release the glass, turn the page, and you hit the scan button again. So that's the book cradle controls. Now you see down here this undo button will appear if you've done any kind of image editing or scanning. So I'm going to go up here and turn live view on, and I'm going to adjust this box so it's real clear we got a new image. Well, why don't we just get a completely black image here? So here's my left page and my right page, left page, right page. So I don't want that scan, so I can do an undo, and it completely wipes out the scan. Now this undo is handy in a lot of other ways. If I manipulate the image in any way, make any changes, and it'll just stack them up. If I continue to do undo here, it'll start removing all the scans that I've done. It also stacks up cropping of the image, deskewing, any other manipulation you may be doing. So that's a pretty handy feature. Just like Microsoft Word, Control Z is the hotkey that will also do it for you. So I'm going to go up here and select an image, and we're going to focus in on what we can do with scanned images. Now, both the this window and the thumbnail window has what's called a context-sensitive menu. And what that means is it's context sensitive. So if you do a right click, it's based upon what you're doing in that window. Now, right now, I'm looking at a scanned window, and these are the options that I can do within a scanned window. Now, if I turn on live view, it's going to have a little different menu if I do a right click. That's why it's called context sensitive. It's in context of what's going on at that moment in the when you do that right click to bring up the menu. So let's go back to the scanned image here and go through the menu for a scanned image. So your mouse can do multiple things within a scanned image. By default, it's a crop, which you just take the mouse, let's take it to a spot, and I'm going to do a left click and hold it down, and then I'm going to drag, and whenever I release, it will crop that area. Let's get a little smaller area here and crop the cropped. Now again, just like I was saying, I can now go here and do an undo, and it'll remove that crop, take me back to the prior image, do that crop, take me back to that image. And here's some other things we can do with the mouse. Got a magnifying glass. This isn't really helpful with just some color patches, but if you can have some text, you can take a look and make sure that your focus is good, your crispness of your edges are good. You can also bring up a pan window, which zooms in the window slightly and lets you drag around and look at it, certain sections of the image. Now, these last three are ways of modifying the image. You can deskew by drawn line. So if you have a slightly skewed image, you can draw a line to deskew. What I'm going to do is create a skewed image by the deskew by drawn line, and then I'm going to fix it. So what I'm doing here is I'm clicking at a spot with the left mouse button, and then I'm dragging along a line that I know is what it needs to be orientated on. And when I release, it'll automatically deskew the image. I like that, so I'm going to go here and switch it back to draw crop area and crop it down. Now, we also have the ability to do a redaction, which is just basically blacking out an area, like if you have a social security number or some other sensitive data. Do, a little line or a whatever size area you want. Again, undo. If there's some kind of issue about uh, the modification you made, you can always go back and undo it. I'm going to leave this one there for now. You can also do an inversion, which inverts the color of that area. So I'm going to go in here and draw a box around this and invert it. So you can see the white area becomes black and the black area becomes white. If you do it in a color area, it'll invert the colors. So if you want to do just black, you want to do a redaction. If you want to invert something color-wise or black and white, use the invert. Now some options are the same between the thumbnail, so I'll go up here and bring up that menu. Some of these options are the same between the thumbnail and the scanned image. So for instance, I have a delete here. So I can go up here and delete the image in the thumbnail or delete the image here. Now, actually, the best way to do a delete of a single image is click on the image, and then press the delete button. Now, I want to bring your attention to Scantheus takes care of renumbering your images. It enforces a sequential numbering of images. So if you're going to do any type of editing of Scantheus and you want to keep it in Scantheus, then I'd recommend letting Scantheus do all your image editing, renumbering needs. Now, once you've done something outside of Scantheus, for instance, if I was in an image viewer outside of Scantheus and deleted this page 8 here, the next time I go into Scantheus, it'll give me an error message saying, hey, I only see 7 pages. And all these pages here are ones I don't recognize, because what it does is it expects it always to be in sequential order. So if you want to delete a page or something, do it in Scantheus, do cropping in Scantheus, do all that you can in Scantheus and let it take care of it. If you want to do some editing outside of Scantheus, fine, like deleting pages or renaming pages, but you can't go back into Scantheus and automatically expect it to load it up. So it was a compromise I had to do in the design of the application to make sure that it's guaranteed that the pages that you're looking at are the pages in your book and they're numbered in the correct order. So you can also do a delete here, but in thumbnails, you can also do a delete to end, which means delete from this page to the end of the book, or you can delete all, which basically deletes every single image in the book. Let's do a delete to end here. You're going to delete the last 2 pages. Gives you a warning that you can't undo that action. So let's go through the thumbnail options here. You can also rotate the image, and there's a couple of hotkeys you can do it. We're going to rotate left there, and down here we're going to rotate right, put it back the original orientation. You can auto deskew, which if you have a deskewed image, this will go and try to detect it and put it in the correct orientation, or you can manually skew the image. So by default, it'll do it in 2 degrees. I'm going to go down here, do it off this menu. And now I can put this back in the right orientation. Let's turn on deskew by drawn line, go here, draw a line, and it puts it right for us. You can move a page if you got your pages out of order, and this is going to be kind of hard to see here. Let's go and grab one of these pages so it's real obvious what we moved. We're going to move him to the next page so you can see I can move it down the line here. or I can move it to a specific page number. Let's move him to page 10. Now, it's not just a single page you can do this with. You can actually mark 2 pages. I'm clicking on that one, and then I'm holding the Shift key down and doing a left click on that one. So both of these are selected, and now I can move selected to a certain page number. Move them to page 12, say. So it automatically renumbers the pages after it moves them. So in this case, I said move to page 12. Well, I was moving 2 pages, so it really needs to move it to 11 because there's no other, there was a gap of a page number there that we needed to fill in. So in addition to moving, you can copy a current page. So that could be handy if you accidentally scan both the left and right page in one frame, make a copy of it, and on the first one, turn on crop. I want this to be my left page, and I want this one to be my right page. Or you could just rescan the 2 pages. Now you also have some book controls here. You can rename your book, which basically renames a folder. We're going to go a little bit more about book as we go into the control panel here. You can make a complete copy of the book. Now keep in mind, if you got a 500-page book, that's going to take a while because it has to copy all of the images in that book. You can move a book to another folder, and you can just completely delete the book. Here you have an undo. It's the same as this undo, which is the same as this undo. So you have multiple places to do that. You can do a move here of a page. You can copy the page here just like it is in the thumbnail. So you have multiple areas you can go to move around. So I can also move pages by clicking on an image. In this case, I'm going to move a couple of pages, so I'm going to select 2, and I'm holding the Alt button down on the keyboard, and then I'm clicking the left mouse button, and then I'm dragging, and you see the mouse cursor changed to a little box. I'm going to drag it over here to page 8 and release, and I'll move those pages over. So it's select, holding Alt button down, and dragging. I can do this with a single image here. I'm holding the Alt down, left button down. You see the cursor change. Let's put them over here. Drop them there. So now let's go over these frame definitions here. So of course you can do your left, right. I can do, let's do a full frame here. Want to adjust that down so I get my full color chart. Then the multi-frame, I can define multiple frames here. Let's do this and this and this. The multi-frame is very handy for scanning photographs. Now, another thing you can do here is on the live view. So remember, you can do a context menu on a scanned image, which will have these options, but there's a different one for the live view. And one of the options you can do, which I highly recommend, is if your book is smaller than the scan area, like my sample here, my color chart's a lot smaller than the full capture area, I can define this area. And what it does, it puts it into mode where you can draw a rectangle. You know, see it's saying, hey, you need to draw a rectangle. You can go up here and draw it around your box. Give yourself a little bit of space. And when you release, now your scan area is the box that you drew. So I can go back. I'm going to do a right click again, And you can toggle back to the full live view area by just saying full live view area. So whatever area you define, and notice it keeps the box that I had there. It created a default box. Whenever I change the size of the area, if the boxes don't fit within that area, it'll put a default one up for you. So that actually can help your scan time a little bit and just also let you see the document that you're scanning a little bit better. Another option you can do is turn on a grid here, which helps you see if your document is uh, not skewed at all while you're scanning. These lines help you see if you're lined up okay, and that just stays with the entire grid that you're scanning. Let's switch over here to left right page, show some other options. Oh, you can adjust the size of these boxes. One nice feature here is I'm going to put my cursor in the middle of the box and I'm spinning my mouse wheel. And what that does is it adjusts every side, so you don't have to go and drag a side and drag another side. If you just want to expand the whole box and get it the size that you want. So depending on which way you spin the mouse wheel is how much your box adjusts, or whether it's going to expand or collapse. Actually, let me, this will look better in live view if I switch these next options I'm going to show. So when I have two frames going here, if you do a right click within one of the frames, when you have two of them displayed, you get a couple of more options. One is move Rex in tandem, which means if I move a rectangle around, the other rectangle will move with it. And you can also mirror rectangle size, which means if I adjust the size of one of the rectangles, the other rectangle will match. So let's try this move. We're going to enable that. And so now they move together. Otherwise, when I move them, they'll move separate if I turn that off. The other option is I want the size of the rectangles to always be the exact same size. I'll turn that on. So now when I adjust the size of one, the other one will follow. I'm going to do a mouse wheel here. And so I can expand and collapse either one. So let's go ahead and define our live view area here. We'll go down here, get a little space, make this a little bigger, have a left, right. Notice because I have mirror rect size, when I adjust the size of the left box, it adjusts the size of the right box. So I'm going to close this down here. Let's go into insert option. So of course, by default, when you're scanning, you're always going to be inserting your new pages at the end. Well, let's assume that you go back in, you're kind of looking through your pages and you see, oh, I need to rescan that page or those pages. So let's go up here. What I'm going to do is, let's say I really want these two pages. I scanned them incorrectly. I want them to be what these two pages look like. Let's get this up a little bit here. Yeah. So what you do is you click on the image and you click on replace. And now when I scan, it'll replace pages 19 and 20 with the current images that were scanned. And what it'll do after it does that, to keep from accidentally replacing other pages or whatever, it'll automatically kick back to its default of insert at end. Now, you can do 2 pages like that. What I can do here is, let's say I want to insert these left and right pages after this one. So I'm going to do an insert after and scan, and it'll add those left and right pages there. Now again, just like any kind of editing, I'm going to do a undo, a Control Z, and that scan goes away. So let's say, oh, instead of those left-right pages, I just wanted to do the left page. So let's put this in left frame mode. I'm going to click the location where the insert is oriented to. I'm going to do an insert before and scan. Here I'm going to do an insert after scan. So you can insert before, after, or replace one or more pages. Works. Now, the book orientation of this is whether you're scanning a magazine, a book, photographs, whatever type of documents, it's always referred to as a book. And a book really is just a folder of images. Now, what you could do is go in here, if I want to change to a different book. I know I have a book out here called Yearbook. Now, when I type that name in, I'm going to tab out here. It'll automatically load the pages of that book. So when you go from book to book, it will load the pages of that book. If it's a book that hasn't been created, of course, it's an empty, there's no images in it. We'll go back to our original book here. Now, you can either manually enter it, or you can do this browse button. I'll go back to that yearbook here and load it up. So a book is in a folder, and the way this is set up is you have a base images folder, and this folder, you can use it as, let's say you have a project of 10 books. Well, at this level, you can have it as a folder with the book name, or sorry, the project name, and then within each book that you have, each of those will have its own name and folder, and that way you can group your projects under one folder. So let's say we have a project that's the Eisenhower High School yearbook folders. So we'll have that as our base folder, and then we'll have separate yearbook year folders underneath it for each of the images of the yearbooks. Now, this file type, file definition, all this down here should all be set up before the book is set up. You've got your DPI, you've got your image type. So we're not going to cover that in detail right now, but once you're scanning, those settings should not be changed. Because let's say you're scanning a book and you're writing out TIFF images. If you change them to JPEG, it doesn't automatically convert them to JPEG, what you've already scanned. So that needs to be predefined up front for the particular book that you're scanning. These two buttons here can toggle between color and grayscale. So if you're just scanning a book that has text, you might have a book that has combination color and grayscale. So there's no reason why you can't toggle between the two types while you're scanning if you'd like. Doesn't make any difference. Scanning color just is a little larger if you're scanning a grayscale book that you don't really need the color spectrum there. And I think that is it for basic scanning. Oh, I forgot to show you up here now that we have some images. Let me go back to the book that has more images here. So notice when I switch to this book, it automatically goes to page 24, which is the last page of the book. I don't really like that image, even though these are pretty boring images. I'm going to delete that, and it'll go to page 23. So you see the first image in the thumbnails is 6. Well, I can jump around here and click on it. If I click on the first image in that window and go back one, I'm clicking the arrow here, it'll do that. But you can also use these double arrows, and what that does is it skips by page of thumbnails, not page of book. So if I click this, it'll jump to the next 10th page of the current page that I'm on. I can click some of the hotkeys here. I can do a home button. Home takes me to the first image. End will take me to the last image. If I do a page here, 1 will jump to 11, and then if I do it again, it'll jump another 10 pages. So that's what those buttons do. You can use arrow keys, you can click. I tried to provide multiple ways of manipulating through the images. I'm using the arrow keys here. And now I think I've covered just about everything. Did I point you out to the user guide up here? This is a documentation, comprehensive, doesn't have any tutorial in it, but it covers everything in the current release. And just like you, I really don't like it when my documentation is older than my application on any program I'm using. So I try to, whenever I make any kind of change in Scantheus, I try to update the documentation. So here you see it's version 207. I'm running 207. So this is a handy reference. If you need to look up something, or if a new setting shows up that you're not familiar with, you can search for it in here. But this is just a PDF file. You can copy it off, print it off, look at it elsewhere, and that's fine. Well, thanks a lot for letting me walk you through basics of scanning. We'll see you on the next video.